Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. In today's video we are going to be tearing down the PlayStation 4. Now, in terms of tools, you're going to need the exact same tools as the PS4 Pro teardown. So you're going to need a Phillips screw, you are going to need a TR8 Torx screw, thermal paste, thermal pads, and pliers and tweezers. You can also use a spreading tool, a spatula, to spread the thermal paste, but that's not necessarily needed, but it is good to have. So without further ado, let's get into the teardown. So, first thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and remove the seals, which have already been done here. Usually there'll be warranty seals on here, so you definitely just want to go ahead and remove them. I've already done that. Next, you're going to remove these screws. These are TR8 Torx screws, so you go ahead and remove all the ones that are here. They are here, 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 and here. Depending on the PS4 model, they may be different, but the principle is the same. Just remove the screws that you see. After removing the screws, you're going to want to pull up on the bottom panel. So you're going to want to pull up from the sides and just pull up until it snaps. Initially it will be very hard, especially if you haven't taken it off before, but with just a bit of pulling and prying, essentially it should come off fairly easily. So if we go ahead and try and do that now, as you can see, it comes off quite easily. As you can see, on this particular PS4 there's quite a bit of dust build up inside. So this is why we do this teardown and clean up, because as you can see, dust is just not nice to look at. So yep, this is something that, you know, is pretty much needed, especially if you've had the PS4 console for a while. So we're going to go put that to one side. And in the meantime, while you're going, you could just clean up as well at the same time. So after you've done that, you're going to want to go ahead and remove the screws on the power supply as shown. So get your Torx screw and get your Phillips screw, preferably the smallest size Phillips screw that you have. Now some of these screws are very small, excuse me, and you're just going to go ahead and remove all the screws on the power supply here, here, and here. In terms of organizing your screws, I've gone ahead and used tissues just to lay them out. So from essentially newest to the last ones I'm going to put. Use any method you like, but using tissues is inexpensive and easy, and it works very well in my opinion. So I would recommend you to do that as well. So after you remove these screws, let's go ahead and continue on. After you've gone ahead and removed the screws, go ahead and unplug this cable here using some needle nose pliers. Remember to connect the bit where the wires are, not the bit on the motherboard, else you will permanently damage the cable and you will have essentially a broken PS4. After you've gone ahead and removed this cable using tweezers and pulling up and moving side to side at the same time, be careful not to disconnect that connector. It should come off fairly easily, a lot more easier than the PS4 Pro. As you can see, there's still a bit of dust, so go ahead and just give that a clean with a damp cloth or a tissue if you prefer. Just go ahead and get this all cleaned. Try, if you're using a damp cloth, don't touch anything like on the motherboard, any sort of electrical stuff. In that case, it will be better to go ahead and just use a tissue, just to prevent any sort of water or stuff just remaining behind. It could cause short circuit. If it's plain distilled water, it's fine. The water is not going to be conductive. But if you are using, you know, water with mineral ions and stuff, that stuff will be conductive. And if it lands on the motherboard or anywhere where there's essentially electricity, you could actually short something out and you will be left with a fully dead PS4, and that's something that we definitely, you know, don't want to go ahead and do. That's just not, it's not going to be nice at all, will it? So I'm going to go ahead and pause, and after that you're going to want to go ahead and just pull up on the power supply unit. thing is going to be quite hard to take out, but once you just pull up, it should quite easily come up. So after you've done some bit of forceful persuasion on the power supply, it should come off. There's dust in it. Use compressed air, and yeah, it should hopefully come off fairly easily. Go ahead and clean it if you can. Without further ado, let's get on to the next part. Now the next step is you are going to want to go ahead and remove the Blu-ray drive cable. The way you do this is you clip onto this metal part and you just pull out the cable, wiggling back and forth, and you just leave it to one side. If you don't, you could damage the cable. As you can see, it moves slightly up if you push it down. So you definitely want to go ahead and do that. And again, get pliers and remove this white connector here. Again, grab on the white connector part and not on the yellow part. Grab it, pull it up and wiggle side to side. Do not grab onto that yellow part or else you will rip it off from the motherboard. After you've gone ahead and removed those cables, you can go ahead and flip the PS4 to the other side, like so. The next step is to go ahead and remove the hard drive cover, like so. Go ahead and move that to one side, and you want to go ahead and remove the hard drive. Again, as you can see, it has a very small Phillips screw, so use the smallest Phillips screw that you have and just take it out and put it to one side. Next step is you're going to want to go ahead and remove all the TR8 screws all the way around. So go ahead and do just that. Again, try to organize the screws as best as you possibly can, so that way you don't lose track on, you know, losing screws or forgetting which one goes which, because you've already sorted it out quite well. An electric screwdriver would definitely be very helpful right now, but hopefully this gives you a bit more of a exactly what to do type of style video. There we go, all the screws are now removed. Sorry guys, I made a bit of a mistake about that. What I've actually gone ahead and done is I've put all the screws back, but I've only taken out the ones on the cover. So those are the only screws you want to take out, not these other screws that are located around. Just these two ones and the hard drive one, so that way you can take out the hard drive. Again, it's a bit dusty, very dusty actually, so definitely go ahead and clean that. Once you've gone ahead and done that, you should be able to simply pull up on the casing. It may make some violent cracking noises, but it should come out in one piece. You know you've done it incorrectly if there's multiple you know, pieces that come flowing about, because that means you've obviously broken something, but it should come out fairly nicely. As you can see, this is absolutely disgusting, PS4. You know, yours could be worse, but yeah, this is absolutely disgusting. Definitely worse than a PS4 Pro. So you can definitely see why this PS4 is sounding like a complete and utter jet engine. Definitely go ahead and clean that with a cloth. It's just, you know, it's gross. It's absolutely gross what some of these PS4s can look like. You know, you're probably wondering, you know, where the hell was that PS4 kept? I do not know. I do not know where this PS4 is kept. I definitely know where nice, to say the least. But you know, this is what can happen sometimes to electronics. This isn't my PS4, it's someone else's. Lord knows where this person has kept it, but you know, unfortunately that's just what electronics can look like sometimes, especially when they're kept on the floor, or you know, just in a attic place, very, very dusty. You know, this is just unfortunately what they end up looking like when, you know, they're not placed in very nice conditions, or, you know, there's just not enough airflow. But yeah, just go ahead and clean that as best as you can with a wet cloth, a damp cloth. After that, go ahead and use a tissue or a dry cloth to just take away any moisture, so that way there's no moisture left to, you know, cause any short circuits due to, you know, the mineral ions, which can go ahead and carry a charge, which wouldn't be very, very good for the device. But yeah, as you can see, it's a lot more cleaner now compared to that dust or webs or whatever that was like before. It's not the best, but that's about as clean as I can get it. Dust, as you know, is always accumulating, so yeah, that's that. So after you've gone ahead and cleaned it as much as you can, remove all the TR8 torque security screws that are on the metal plate. I'm not going to go ahead and show you all that, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward, but you should be able to see clearly all the torque screws. There. Leave these two on for now, there as well. What I did also forget to mention, so sorry about this guys, is you're going to want to go ahead and remove the Wi-Fi cable that's connected here. So just go ahead and remove this black little cable there. So after you've gone ahead and done that, you can go ahead and get your Phillips screw and take off the APU clamp. Again, the Phillips screws can be very, very small, so go ahead and use the smallest Phillips screw that you possibly have. These are, like I said, extremely, extremely small. So after you've gone ahead and taken apart all the screws, go ahead and lift up on the metal panel. Should come off fairly easily, unless if I've gone ahead and missed a screw, which I don't think I have. Definitely go ahead and take apart this cable here though. Don't want to leave that cable there. You just pull up on it. Okay, so after you've gone ahead and just lifted up the metal panel, you can see that again, it's just really, really dusty. It's really, really dusty. The thermal pads are like, you know, look, one of them is actually ripped off. One of them has stayed on, so it's just really, really dirty, and, you know, it's just going to overheat, which is why this PS4 was reported to me by the person who gave it to me as being extremely, extremely loud. You know, it's just, it's dirty, and it's old. It's just old. You know, it's amazing that this thing was even able to run at all, to be honest. So go ahead and remove those thermal pads, and definitely go ahead and put in new ones. Make sure that the whole system is as clean as possible as you can make it, and without, you know, shorting anything out. You know, this thing is just dirty. It's just very, very dirty, and, you know, there's dust and whatnot. You know, the PS4 just can't cool itself well, which is why you always hear the fans just whirring up, and, you know, everything is just like an airport. You know, your house just sounds like an airport. So go ahead, since it's just a metal panel, go ahead and use any sort of liquid to just clean the metal panel as well as you can. But be sure to go ahead and go through a dry cloth to wipe off any moisture or anything, just to prevent, again, any shorting or corrosion in case, you know, you just don't want to leave any liquid, essentially, not on something like this. So go ahead, just dab it dry. Hopefully it should all dry up anyway, you know, once you go ahead and put stuff together, but you don't really want to take any chances. So go ahead, clean it, and then go ahead and just dry it out, and go ahead and leave it to one side. You can see it looks, I would say, a lot more better. It's definitely important that remember to replace the RAM chips sorry, the RAM pads, the RAM thermal pads. Definitely don't forget to put those back on. I've definitely seen some people, especially on Reddit, who say that, oh, I've forgotten thermal pads, should I go back and put them on? Yes, you absolutely should go back and put them on. If you do not, those chips could overheat and your PS4 will be destroyed, because you can see these RAM chips are soldered onto the motherboard, and you know, soldering is a whole different thing compared to what this is doing. You know, this is just simple teardown. You know, soldering is very, very, very hard. Requires lots of equipment, requires patience, and it's just a lot more difficult. So you don't want to get to that point where you, rather than just replacing thermal pads and thermal paste, you need to go ahead and replace you know, the most important components. You know, that's just going to be very, very hard for the average person to do. And I am an average person. You know, I'm not some highly experienced repair technician. I am just a simple repair person who's doing cleaning. But again, you know, a lot of people, this isn't something a lot of people would do. You know, they wouldn't go ahead and open their systems to go ahead and give it a clean, which is why many of these systems are, you know, very loud, very dusty. You know, like, look at this. Like, this is something that I just can't clean, because, you know, it's very hard to do. You know, it's very, very hard to do. If you're, you know, stuff like this, you really do need distilled water, because you use any liquid, you know, you can't risk that liquid being, you know, thermally conductive or anything really. So, you know, you're at a bit of a disadvantage when it comes to stuff like this. You know, dust is just stuck onto the motherboard. There's not much I can do. Look how dusty this is. It's just really, really dusty. I'm not sure what I can do here, guys. Okay, so after you guys have gone ahead and cleaned as much as possible as you realistically can, you know, there's not much you can really do when it comes to cleaning the motherboard, because, you know, it's all just fine circuitry and stuff. You don't want to really damage anything. You should be able to go ahead and just lift out the motherboard. Just lift up, and it should just pull out. Just be aware of any cables you might have. Should just pull out like that. So as you can see, this PS4 is just extremely dusty. The thermal paste is just dry as well. It's not too dry, but you can see it's just not good at all. It's just dry. So this is going to take a lot of time to clean up, guys, as you can see. So go ahead and do whatever you can in terms of cleaning. Again, remember, pay attention to the thermal pads. There are thermal pads on both sides. In terms of the original clamp, if I go ahead and put that to one side, you know, thermal pads can go here. You can see they're indented for you, so that's how you know there should be something there. And as for this side, you can also see there should be thermal pads there as well. So there should be thermal pads on both sides for these RAM chips. Go ahead and just clean however much you can. Make sure the board is pretty much brand new as much as possible. And I'll be with you guys shortly. And then after that, you're just going to remove 2 screws here and here. Sorry guys, there's another screw here that was just hiding behind that thick pack of dust. So, as you can see, guys, look at that. Look at how bad it is. You know, when the fan is blowing air that way, the dust is simply just getting built up, trapped, and you know, you can't, there's no air coming out. As you can see, the other side is clean. That's because all the dust has gathered up here, and when the fan is blowing, the heat is just trapped in the heat sink and it can't get out. That's why the fan just simply blowing, and it sounds really loud. Like, look at that. It's like a thick carpet, a thick blanket. It's just ridiculous how hard this is. You know, no Hoover is going to be able to clean that. So this is why you go ahead and open your system. Get a piece of tissue, obviously, or you know, something that can just grab onto it, because you are not hoovering that. Look at that. It's just a thick blanket. It's ridiculous. No hoover in the world is going to be able to clean that. It's absurd. I've got a bag, sorry. But yeah, guys, this is why you open up your system. Go ahead and clean, you know, anything you see. Go ahead and clean as much as you possibly can, and I will see you guys in just a few moments. So yep, as you guys saw, heatsink was absolutely covered in a whole thick blanket of dust. You know, no way you're gonna be able to gas can that out or air can that out or whatever. So you can see it definitely looks a lot better now. You know, you can actually see through it. There's not really much dust in there. So that's, you know, very, very good. And I just go ahead and use compressed air to wipe out any sort of, you know, renegade bits of dust. Because once you got rid of that thick blanket, everything else really should be quite easy to remove. And go ahead and use this. Just wipe away any bits of dust or dirt or whatever. Getting a bit tired now. This has definitely been a mission, guys, you know, in terms of cleaning. Like, you guys have probably seen worse. Let me know if this is one of the worst consoles, if not the worst, that you've ever seen. Guarantee there's definitely worse out there. I imagine this one with the whole heatsink was just completely blocked. This one was about half blocked, I believe. So yeah, there's definitely worse. Hopefully, once we've cleaned everything, re-thermal paste, put it all back together, hopefully, it would be a lot more quieter, essentially. Okay, I think there's about as much cleaning as we can do on this side of stuff. But yeah, that's about it. That's about it in terms of cleaning we can do for this. So what I'm going to go and do is I'm just going to set this off to one side now. And proceed with the next step of removing the fan. Looking forward to it. Okay, so I'm just going to set the motherboard to one side. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the fan. So again, here we've got some Phillips screws. Again, try the smallest screws that you possibly have, and you can should be able to easily remove them. This one's coated in dust. There we go. And there we are. Okay, take out the fan. Look at that. Super dusty. Super dusty. So go ahead and just clean that as much as you possibly can. Okay guys, so now we will begin the reassembly. So once you've gone ahead and cleaned everything you can possibly can of the system, put the fan back in, and it's time to, again, reassembly the PS4. Once you've gone ahead and done everything, go ahead and put the fan in, get your two Phillips screws and put them in to the fan. These are very small screws, so just put them back in. After you've gone ahead and put in your two Phillips screws, go ahead and get the metal plate with the heatsink. and put it in. Should just slot in nicely like so. Just make sure everything is in there. Now once you've gone ahead and put this in, you can go ahead and put the 3 Phillips screws as well. This is why organization is super duper important. And just put them where the arrows are. If you look on the metal plates, just put them there, there, and there. The next step after that is to put in the thermal pads. If you look carefully, there are these triangles. Sorry, not triangles, sorry. Squares where you just which indicate where you should put the thermal pads. So go ahead and make sure you put the thermal pads on here. So rather than me putting it on the squares, I've actually gone ahead and put it on the motherboard, as you can see, to try and cover as much of the RAM chips as possible. Next step, we're going to put on thermal paste. Oh, bless enough. Should be enough. Probably have enough for one more application. You can go ahead and get your spatula and just spread it. So you can spread it all around the APU. So after putting on the perfect amount of thermal paste and spreading it around and putting the thermal pads on, we can put the motherboard back in this way. Right guys, so with the fan before, I think I put the screw in the wrong place. I put the screw in there when it's supposed to be in around here and there. So you're going to want to make sure that the screws, when you're putting the screws in, you follow the arrows. Follow the arrows and you won't really get it wrong. So once you've done that, it's time to put the motherboard back on. Before it wouldn't go in because I put this metal piece here wasn't actually slided on, so make sure you slide that on. And now the motherboard hopefully should easily just go in place. So let me put this over there, bring this over to you guys, bring this over here, and the motherboard hopefully this time should very easily slot in place. Alright, moment of truth, will it slide in? And there we go guys, we did it. Just finally slid into place, as you can see. So now we can continue. So when you approach this step, remember to put in the thermal pads on the RAM chips. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Then we put this back on. Remember, make sure the thermal pads are on both sides. We put this back on. know I've done it correctly when it kind of just slots in place, basically, like so. Next we screw in the clamp. Alright guys, the next step is to put in all the T8 torque screws. Again, follow the arrows. Wherever there's an arrow, that is where you are supposed to put the screws. And hopefully all these screws will be used and you will know that you've done it correctly. Okay guys, so once you've gone ahead and put the screws in here, 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 and here, of course put in the X clamps. The next step is you want to go ahead and get the hard drive. Go ahead and just slot that in. So we just slide it in. It should connect very easily. You can go ahead and get the Phillips screwdrivers. Bear in mind, you know, I absolutely hate Phillips screws. Like, I genuinely hate them. They're just so much harder to put in than TR8 torque screws. Even though TR8 torque screws are not standardized, you know, just Phillips screws are just so much more annoying, and I feel like they always end up getting damaged or, you know, deformed, and it's just absolutely horrendous. Just a bit of dirt there, I don't think ever it's going to come off. Right, that's about as clean as possible as it's going to get. You can go ahead and put this case on. Like I said, it should just slot in place. Alright, once that's done, get 2 more torque screws. Daisy. I think I didn't put one there, so I'll put that one there and leave these 2 empty. Should be able to just screw these ones in. Some of these screws can be really difficult to put in, guys, so if you're not sure how to do them, then just keep going with it, because it will fit in eventually. Some are really easy, like this one was really easy to put in. So that's all the hard drive bits done. Go ahead and just clean the hard drive cover case a bit, like so. As you can see, did not clean it, still very, very dusty. So just go ahead and clean it, like so. That's done. You can just simply go ahead and just reattach it. This is drastically easy to just slide on and just attach, just like that. Once you've gone ahead and put in the panels, you can go ahead and reattach the cables. It's a bit dark here, so I can't really see properly. Go ahead and wiggle the antennae cable, so that's in that. Cable's being a bit annoying. It's a very, very small cable, but we go, just snaps in place. Next cable, this one should just easily snap in. Then we've got the ribbon cable for the disk drive. Remember, for this one, get your tweezers. You have to be pressing on this metal part, so press on it.
Wait, how long have you been spending?
So you press on it, and this cable should slide in place like so. Make sure you press on that metal part, and then you release. Okay, so that's now done. The next step is to put in a power supply. After you've made sure that that's clean as possible, I would advise not to open it because these things can be very, very dangerous. But you can go ahead and just slot this back in. There we go. You can easily just put in the power supply connector, and the last bit, not the last bit, not finished yet, guys, not finished yet. Still got these Phillips screws to put in. There we are. Next, get your TR8 torque screws. Again, just follow the arrows. Just screw them in. Like so. This one's a bit of a harder screw to actually put in. But as long as there's no gap between the plastics, I think it's good. Hopefully this one's easier to put in, which it is. That one right in. All the screws are put in place, the ribbon cable is attached. So now we simply just attach the bottom panel. Like that. So again, I think this one definitely is going to be a bit uncomfortable to actually attach back on. But again, just like all other panels, should just snap in place like so. Once you've gone ahead and done that, you just reattach the screws and you are done. that's it. And there we are. That's how you reassemble or deassemble and reassemble the PS4, the original model. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it extremely useful, beneficial towards cleaning and taking apart your PS4. If there are any improvements that I could do, let me know. I think I did put in a few screws the wrong way around, but I did go ahead and correct that. So yeah, hopefully you guys found this video useful. Please share it, like it, subscribe for more helpful tutorials like this, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.